appreciate it, gentlemen, for joining me on this Saturday afternoon for a chit chat. I am a big fan of your work, as I've said before, and having a chance to chat with you is kind of like cool. Saturday morning nights. This is the kind of Saturday I would like to have every week, but I'm not that lucky. um, you guys both dabble in film and TV and theater. You have a mixture of arts. What made you get into the arts in the first place? What was that? What was the factor that pushed you towards this direction?
Oh boy, you don't know this about me, Phil.
Uh-oh.
Before I became an actor, I wanted to be a sportscaster. I wanted to be Dave Hodge, Hockey Night in Canada, between periods. I went to Ryerson, radio and television arts graduate, and then I worked in CBC for about a year. And then I got bored and got curious about acting and involved myself in a community theater production, and then ended up studying at National Theatre School. I sort of got bitten a little later than most folks, and once I went to theater school, I thought, yeah, this is what I want to do. So I sort of suppressed it until
You
got
knew
the
to
better
get
of me.
Sweet. How about yourself?
Well, like most kids, I was really into movies. I grew up in Brampton for a while. I had no idea what theater was. I hadn't seen a play, but I had watched movies, and loved movies. And so I wanted to become a film director. So I went to, so I enrolled in the Hawco School of the Arts, which was, the closest kind of arts high school to me. They didn't have the film program, so they only had a theater program. So I went in for theater and discovered what theater was. Again, like Richard, got hooked on theater. Immediately after the Hawco School for the Arts, I went to George Brown, studied for theater, and then theater will always be a passion and always something I'll do. And in the last couple of years, actually, I finally started dabbling in film directing. So it's kind of come full circle for me. But certainly, what's important is doing everything. Like doing what feeds me is being able to work in all mediums.
Right. Now, of course, the company theater is something that I have followed a long time, and I've always wanted to have that opportunity to come and chat about it. I always find a theater company to be a like collection of passions, and you being the co-founder and you being a part of the company, having done so many different productions. We can start with you. Where did this passion come from for the company theater? How did this kickstart? Was it just something you went to the bar one day and were like, yeah, let's do this?
Well, we went to the bar for several days in a row. No. Allan Hawco, I started the company with. We just ended up, we were both freelance actors working in theater, and we just ended up being cast together in a couple of shows that were back to back. So we ended up spending 6 or 7 months together, became really good friends. And just through conversation, we were about the same age, about the same point in our careers. And working freelance just wasn't really working for us. The reality of working professionally, which we were both doing for other companies, wasn't really fulfilling us in the way that we had hoped it would when we graduated theater school. And really for us, I think we were just part of this generation that felt differently about performance and the style of performance that we wanted to do and the type of process that we wanted in rehearsal. For us, it wasn't focused on acting as much as we had hoped it would be. So we decided to create a company that would have that focus, and so that's where it really came from. It came from a desire to have a company that would fulfill us the way that we really wanted to be fulfilled, and it allowed us to work with the people that we wanted to work with, and that was kind of a big deal for us, to get to choose who the artists that you work with, and so when we did that in 2005, it's just, we had no clue if it would work or not. So we had this play that we knew we really wanted to do, A Whistle in the Dark, and we spent a year and a half raising the money and getting it together, and really that could have been the end of it. People could have saw it and just been like, this is terrible, or no one could have saw it. But people saw it and they responded to it, and I think it really kind of hit a nerve within the community, especially with our generation. It was the type of work that I think people really were craving to see, the type of acting that people wanted to see, and so it's just kind of snowballed from there.
Cool.
Richard actually.
So how did he get dragged into this?
Well, the first, he was very close to being in the very first production of Whistle in the Dark, and it ended up not working out. But when we decided to remount Whistle in the Dark 2 years later, we had a few cast changes, and our director, Jason Byrne, who was an Irish director, had remembered Richard from his original audition and was really impressed by Richard's work. And so he came in when we were doing the remount, and we ended up casting him as Iggy in that production. And then, he was amazing to work with, and really the type of work that we do, it seemed to really fit his style. And so, yeah, we've been inviting him back to work with us as many times as we can, really.
How about you? So how was this whole transition into the company theater?
Well, I was very struck by the first time I met Phil and Jason originally when they were doing Whistle in the Dark, and I remember walking out of my audition thinking, that was a really good experience, because that's not always the case when you audition, and whether you get the part or not, you occasionally get an audition where you feel you pass through something, and that's kind of how I felt. And then I was lucky enough to be invited on board for the remount of Whistle in the Dark, and it was an amazing experience on many levels for me. And it was a real honor to be asked to join the Festin company. Mm-hmm. And again, working with Jason and this amazing company of actors in the way that they work is a particular pleasure that is very challenging, but really, really thrilling. And I think Phil works in his own way that is different from Jason. And to be asked to be part of this group for Speaking in Tongues was just it's one of the great constants for me in my work, is to have been involved in company theater productions.
Cool. So of course now we are back with Speaking in Tongues, and quite frankly, when I got the press release, like the release, I was just like, wow, where do these guys come up with these things, and how is it going to get staged? Like I couldn't baffle myself. I asked my friends and all, could you think of this on stage? And they're like, no, I can't think of it. So for me, it's a very intriguing script. It's a very ambitious one, and I think that it's quite an interesting one, something that people don't do. People always take the easy way out. Oh yeah, we'll just mount Shakespeare or something like that. And I do appreciate the fact that you're going out of the box. You're trying to capture something that audiences around can sort of relate to. And of course you star in it, you're directing it, and so forth. I wanted to get some insight into the production, and of course your roles, you being the guy behind the chair, right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I read this play, and every year as I read, I don't know, hundreds, really, and maybe not the full plays, but we're always searching for a great script, and you end up going through hundreds of scripts, and really only a handful every year stick with you. You read it, and you're still thinking about it next week, or next month, or whatever. And those are usually the plays we end up producing. Mm-hmm. This one in particular, it was just so unique, the structure of it, the challenge of it, and almost because of the structure of it, when I first read it, I was like, it's not right for company theater, because the last few years we've been obsessed with this idea of giving as much freedom to the actor as possible, and it's almost this improv with text, that type of performance that we've been really working on. And I thought, well, you can't do it with this play, because the structure and the technical demands is just not right for us. And then the more I thought about it, I thought, actually, that's even more of a reason for us to do it, because it's going to challenge the way that we work. Mm-hmm. And but the bottom line is, it's a great play that I would want to see. Mm-hmm. And Allan felt the same way about it, so that's why we ended up going with it. But it's proving to be as challenging as we thought it would be, but in a really kind of stimulating way. Directing it, I'm fairly new to directing. This is only the second show I've directed in theater, and so, I'm learning as I go, but I felt like I had a deep connection with the script that I knew I could use as a foundation. And when you can put a cast together of Richard and Jonathan Goh and Elaine Joy and Yana McIntosh, you're working with some pretty good tools there. So, and one thing about the company too that was really important to us is this idea that acting would be the focus, but that it would be that we would really challenge the actors. So for Allan and I, really, it becomes this really fun thing where we just get to put our favorite actors together and challenge them, make them work to the limit of their potential, and you just see the amazing things that happen. And this play is doing that. You just have 4 amazing actors working at such a level that, it's just incredible. It challenges them in every possible way. So it's been a lot of fun.
So it looks like he's put you on a bit of a spot with the characters and so forth. And I just wanted to know a little bit about your character and.
Well, I play 3 characters in the play, and what they all share in common is that they're all in a place of crisis in their lives. Very different situations, but they are all very much in an emotional, psychological relationship crisis. And often it's enough to play one character in a piece, but we all have 2 characters like that, and in this case I have 3. And so it's a huge challenge, and when I read the play, I had the sort of reaction just reading the play and the characters, like, oh my God, they're at very serious places in their lives, and there's no easy way to figure any of them out, because they all sort of inhabit a complexity, which is pretty rare for characters in a play. There are complex characters in many plays, but all the characters in this play are complex. And one of my characters, named Pete, is grappling with having almost had an affair himself and discovering that his wife has gone through with one. Another character is questioning whether he wants to, I can't even say it, he's on the verge of, is life worth living? And a third character is in a deeply, deeply troubled relationship with his wife, who has gone missing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. You really have put him in.
Oh yeah, he's like, yeah, no, I mean, it's incredible to watch Richard tackle all 3 of these characters, and it's like this. Oh yeah, I mean, this play is like it's. But
Everest,
if you're,
call it Everest.
It's the Everest for actors. Yeah, it is. It's like climbing Everest, because it's just like there's so many different challenges. The structure of the piece, as you know, is different than any play. There are all these other challenges because, as Richard says, every character in the play is quite complex. There are scenes of realism, naturalistic style. They're playing multiple characters like this, but then the playwright has also put scenes together so they happen simultaneously, so that there are technical demands with that. There are other chunks of the play that are the individual characters are having scenes with someone that we don't see, and that happens kind of intertwined. There's just so many different challenges. So for an actor, it's just like it's an Everest. It's like
there's
watching.
no safety net. But it allows an open, for you, Phil, as a director, I'm sure, how do I stage this scene? what's the simplicity through the complexity, you know.
And I mean, that's the other thing about the play that makes it so challenging, right? Is that it's the themes that he's talking about are they're very human, and as an actor, you can't, you have to go places, you know, dark places that just require such immersion in the performance, you know, because he's looking at relationships from every different angle and really examining the complexity of relationships. And he goes, you know, he's not shy about going to places that we don't want to talk about in our regular life.
Wow. Well, I better sleep the day before I come and see the show. So when I come and see the show, I'm like, all right, focus then, focus. Well, I do appreciate the fact that you've given me such detail, and I can't wait to see the show. It sounds like an intriguing, very curious and interesting show. Of course, as actors, as professionals, you have carved a path for yourself to get to where you want to get, as you are here as professionals. You started somewhere and you built yourself up till now. I write for a very young audience, an audience that tries to build themselves up into artists, well, maybe later down the road. As professionals, what's the one key piece of advice that you would give away for a young professional trying to get himself established, him or herself established?
Well, I would suggest your passion and your instincts are a great thing to build on. And at a certain point, as an artist, because being an artist is somewhat difficult for a number of reasons, you really have to, at a certain point, decide whether you'd be better off doing something else, or if you want to dedicate yourself to the work. And it's not all just passion. There's enormous work and dedication and rigor, whatever you're doing. But just say, follow your heart.
Yeah, I mean, as Richard said, I mean, yeah, you got to be prepared for a lot of work. But then on top of that, I think for me personally, I mean, I can only speak from my own experience. I started becoming way more satisfied with life and my career in general when, you know, when I just stayed true to the type of work that I really wanted to do and just pursued that 100%, and that seemed to work. So I really think that staying true to who you are as an artist and pursuing what you really believe in and the type of work that you want to do, if you work hard enough, eventually that will start paying off, as opposed to, because I think as a young artist it can be easy to compromise who you are for the sake of thinking that that's going to get you a job, or that you need to be something that, and I think that as soon as you can forget all that and just start pursuing, you know, what you really believe in, and I think things will start taking care of themselves, I think.
Cool, fantastic. Well, gentlemen, I do appreciate the conversation, and I can't wait for the show.
I can't wait for you to see it. I'm excited to see what you think.
Well, you'll see my reaction the day I was like, dude, like, come on. So I do appreciate it, guys, and I wish you the best of luck with rehearsals, and see you at the show.
Thanks.
Thank you.